Coach Ed Domsitz, head coach of the Alter football team. And Coach, after another great season last year, reaching the state finals, you returned a lot of experience, but also graduated some big contributors. What do you see as the biggest challenge your team will need to overcome to get to Canton and play a championship again this season?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is filling in the spots where we've lost players, and that's primarily offensive line, offensive backfield, the quarterback spot. So, those are the areas that that raise the biggest questions at this point. We're going to find out a lot over the next couple weeks.
Last season, these two teams didn't get to play each other in a rivalry game like this. It means so much to these kids. What do you do as a coach to try to keep their emotions in check and limit uncharacteristic mistakes?
Well, that's a difficult thing because they're going to be pumped. They're going to be fired up for the ball game. What you try to do is you try to get them to be sufficiently enthusiastic, you might say, sufficiently prepared. When you get out there, and I've talked to kids after the game, kids who have left our program and graduated, they say it's such an adrenaline rush those first couple series that you really have to take a deep breath, get some water, and just recharge. And that's part of it because you wait all year for this ball game, and then it's on top of you.
C.J. Hicks, the 5-star Ohio State commit, is one of the best players in the country. Can you talk about what it means to have a player of that caliber setting the tone in the locker room?
Well, I think C.J. is I think he's improved his leadership skills certainly over the last 6 months. I think about what the kids, most of the kids, I'm certain, look up to C.J. In terms of his playing ability. I think there's a lot to admire there, and I think that it's a thing where we're certainly pleased that he's part of our program. But the expectations, when you have that kind of a label, the expectations are great. So there is a little bit of pressure on CJ to perform on an excellent level every week.
All right, and a follow-up question on Hicks. Will we be seeing more of him on the offense this season?
Yeah, he'll be at running back and at some linebacker. Mm-hmm.
All right, and how many players will play both ways this year? And do you like players that play both sides of the ball? No,
we don't like players who we'd much rather go with one-way players, a two-platoon kind of system. But my expectation right now is that we'll have probably 7, 8, 9 kids who at times will see some play on offense, some play on defense.
How disruptive is Derek Shepard going to be defensively this season?
We're going to find out because Derek's one of these kids going to play both ways. And so he's going to need to be in shape. He's going to need to be able to handle both his responsibilities on the offensive line and on the defense. Tell you the truth, we need him probably more on offensive line than we need him on defense at this moment. So it's as far as being disruptive, we'll see. I think that he can help us on both sides of the football, and that's what we've got to see, what we've got to have.
Turning to Fairmont, what do they do well that concerns you the most?
Oh, they do a lot of things well. They're well coached. Dave Miller and his staff do an excellent job. That's not just coach speak. They're one of the best coach teams on our schedule. I think that when you look at Fairmont, they are very consistent offensively. They're going to try to control the clock with their running game. Their defense is aggressive. They'll come after you. They don't miss tackles very often. They play a sound defense. Special teams for both teams, that may go a long way to deciding this one.
Fairmont plays a very similar style of football as your own. Does that make it any easier to prepare?
Not really. I don't see that it's a whole lot easier. I think that for the most part, we don't go ones against ones, our number one people against our number one people. So, I think, do I know what Fairmont's going to run? I've got a pretty good idea. And conversely, they've got a pretty good idea of what we're going to run. So in that sense, yes, it's probably a little bit easier.
Okay, and final question, Coach. With 45 years of coaching experience, how often do you still get surprised football-wise?
You can get surprised by different things. You can be surprised by measurable improvement in certain players. That's probably the greatest area of surprise. But I think also there are things out on the field that sometimes can surprise you. Tell you the truth, there aren't a whole lot more you can do with 11 players against a wishbone that I haven't seen in 45 years. But some people, they do come out with different looks, and then we have to try and adjust. And whichever team has the best, whichever team can adjust best is oftentimes the team that can win.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me, and good luck on Thursday.
Thank you much.
I'm with Coach Dave Miller. Another season of football coming up, Coach, and the rivalry, the big rivalry of Kettering, I should say, is about on your doorstep. Now, a few years ago, it was the very first playoff appearance for the school. Last season, you won the first playoff game in school history. Does a win like that give your team any momentum coming into this season?
Well, it's those are some nice things when you look at the program as a whole and things that we've done. Each senior class has their own kind of tribute or whatever you want to call it, over the past 4 years, what they've done. So I think from that standpoint, I don't know about momentum, but, we've done some things we haven't done here, so, from that standpoint, those are always positive, as far as the program's concerned.
All right, and what are your thoughts on the expanded playoffs starting this season, extending the amount of teams getting in to 16 per region?
Well, I think it was an inevitability. It's kind of funny how it all went down. The first they went to 12. I wasn't crazy about that idea because, you have 4 teams with a bye, probably from the standpoint of getting kids healthy and so forth. But in a way, just as a purist, I don't really care. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. But as a purist, when you look at where that's gone, okay, you've got something that's a reward at the end of the season, for your team if they've been successful. Now it's kind of getting into that realm where everybody's there, and hey, it is what it is. I mean, we're going to strap up and hopefully be able to play in week 11, and that's what we're that'd be great if that happens. So from there, whatever you got to win, 6 games to to go to the state championship. So just add another week.
Okay, last year you obviously didn't get to play Alter. In a rivalry game like that, which means so much to these kids, what do you do as a coach to try to keep their emotions in check and limit uncharacteristic mistakes?
Now, that's the name of the game. It's kind of, I was talking to Coach Domsitz the other day. He brought that up. He said the team that has made the least mistakes in that game has won, and he's right. So it's both teams are going to be keyed up. It was a big hole in our schedule last year not having them. So it'll be really cool to resume it, and really the way it's supposed to be. Such a healthy rivalry, for the city of Kettering, and for the community, brings everybody together. Hopefully this year we've got a packed house and the weather cooperates, and it'll be a fun game. So.
All right, and how many players will you have that play both sides of the ball this year? And do you like players that play the both sides?
Not many. I mean, we try to minimize that. There's a few guys, possibly some tight ends, things like that, but we really try to minimize that. I think at this level of football, you're better off if you don't have a lot of them doing that, because it's physical. The athletes that you're playing against, really hard to do, but that takes a special person to do it.
On offense, it looks like Drew Baker is poised for a big year, and you return an experienced quarterback in Hillen. That really knows your offense. How's that offense line looking?
Looking good. Things are kind of coming together. We really return more guys on offense this year, so it should be better. You mentioned 2 there. Besides Drew and Malik, obviously they give us experience and at 2 key positions for us. Will Porter has stepped up. He's really done a nice job as a second fullback there, so can play some other positions as well. And then we have, AJ Mullen playing Z-back, and really a large majority of our line is back either as starters or with a lot of experience. So, we should be, good there, hopefully. So.
All right, and so you touched on this a little bit. Defensively, the top 4 leading tacklers from last year graduated. Who are you counting on this year to really step up and take a leadership role on that side of the ball?
Well, they've already done it. I mean, when you look at our off season, really a lot of our leadership came from that side of the ball. Just the workouts that we had, the guys that stepped up. Our middle linebacker, Malachi Bowling, really had a nice off season. Eli Swallow as a returning. He split time there on the D line. Of course, Dalton Gusweiler as a interior guy. Then Will Perry's, all those guys really. Eli and Malachi in particular, and Will, they had a phenomenal offseason, as seniors, and so you really count on that heavily. Evan Thompson, I can name several others. So, we did that the year before. We graduated quite a few, and some guys stepped up, and we need the same thing to happen.
Alder plays such a similar style to your own. Does that make it any easier to prepare for?
I don't know. I mean, it's maybe more of a fit. I think for us, the way we're built, I think it favors us a little bit. No, I wouldn't say favors us, but it favors our preparation. They're really good. When you start looking at, they've got 5 Power 5 conference recruits that play both ways. But I think what they do, as far as preparing for it, might be a little bit easier, but then again, not. It's a tough offense to contend with.
All right, and finally, Coach, what's the most important part of the game plan Fairmont needs to execute if they are to win Thursday night? What is the #1 priority?
I just said it. You got to eliminate mistakes. You can't beat yourself. I thought we beat ourselves last year or 2 years ago. They were a better football team than us, to be honest with you. I mean, we were really young on offense. We had a good defense, but our offense really didn't do much. So we made a lot of mistakes. They capitalize on mistakes. I mean, they're really good at that. So that's it. You got to control the line of scrimmage and not make mistakes, and you got a shot.
Okay, Coach. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with me, and good luck on Thursday night.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.